The legend of Thanh Giong, or Phu Dong Thien Vuong, is a famous folktale about a 3-year-old boy who could not speak, smile, or walk. However, when the country was in peril, he suddenly grew into a giant warrior, rode an iron horse, and used an iron rod to completely defeat the invaders. The meaning of the story praises patriotism. It honors the patriotic spirit and the power of unity among the Vietnamese people in fighting foreign invaders, expresses the people's dreams. It reflects our people's desire for legendary, godlike heroes with the miraculous power to save the nation. Explains natural phenomena. It offers a mythical origin for things in nature, such as the golden ivory bamboo tree đằng and the chains of ponds and lakes created by the fire-breathing iron horse's footprints. Lessons learned. The story imparts a valuable lesson to future generations about bravery and the readiness to stand up and defend what is right, and the fatherland when necessary. It also reminds us of the tradition of when drinking water, remember its source, showing gratitude, which is celebrated through the annual Giong festival. The Vietnamese fairy tale of Thanh Giong. During the reign of King Hung, there was an older woman who lived alone and had no children. One morning, while checking her fields, she suddenly saw a massive footprint that had trampled several rows of eggplants. She cried out, "Oh my, whose foot is this big?" Suddenly, she felt a shiver run down her spine as she placed her foot inside the strange footprint to measure it. After stepping into the mysterious track, she miraculously became pregnant. When her time came, she gave birth to a chubby baby boy. She named him Giong. However, even when the boy turned 3 years old, he just lay on his back demanding to be fed. He couldn't sit up, couldn't roll over, and didn't know how to speak or smile. Around that time, the invaders swarmed in to plunder our country. The troops were incredibly ruthless, led by a general known as the King. Wherever they went, they burned houses, destroyed doors, killed, and looted. King Hung sent his army out many times, but couldn't defeat them. Deeply worried, the king hastily dispatched messengers everywhere to find a talented person to save the country. One day, a messenger arrived at little Giong's village. Hearing the megaphone announced that the king was looking for talented people to fight the invaders, Giong's mother, who was rocking him, playfully joked, "Oh, my child, you are so slow to walk and talk. When will you ever be able to fight the invaders and defend the country?" Unexpectedly, Giong looked at his mother, opened his mouth, and spoke out loud, "Mother, have the messenger come and hear from me." After saying that, he fell completely silent again. His mother was both overjoyed and frightened, and she hurried to tell the neighbors. Everyone who came to the house thought it was a bizarre phenomenon. Finally, one person suggested, "Let's just invite the messenger in to see what he wants." When the king's messenger walked in and saw little boy Giong, he said, "You're just a 3-year-old toddler who just learned to speak. What do you intend to do by inviting me here?" Giong answered with profound maturity, "Go back and tell the king to forge me an iron horse, an iron sword, an iron suit of armor, and an iron helmet, and I will drive these invaders away." Everyone who heard this was beyond amazed, believing that a divine being had appeared. The messenger immediately galloped back to report to the king. Hearing the news, King Hung was overjoyed and ordered the blacksmiths to gather all the iron they could find to forge the horse, sword, armor, and helmet, exactly as the boy had requested. When everything was finished, it was unimaginably heavy. Dozens of men tried to lift the sword, but couldn't make it budge. King Hung had to dispatch thousands of soldiers to figure out how to transport the items to little boy Giong. Upon hearing the news that the soldiers were bringing the iron horse toward the village, Giong's mother rushed home in a panic and told her son, "My son, the king's business is no joke. The soldiers are marching thunderously outside the village gates right now. What do we do?" Hearing this, Giong suddenly stood up and said, "Don't worry about the fighting, mother, but you must feed me a whole lot." The mother hurriedly cooked rice for her son, But no sooner had she finished a pot than Giong devoured it entirely. With every pot of rice he ate, Giong grew a little more and demanded more food. The more his mother fed him, the faster he grew, shooting up like a weed. In a flash, he had become a tremendously muscular young man. When they ran out of rice, the mother called on the neighbors for help. The whole village enthusiastically brought rice, sweet potatoes, buffalo meat, wine, fruits, and cakes, filling up the entire yard. But no matter how much they brought, Giong devoured it all and kept asking for more without stopping. Then Giong spoke again. "Mother, you need to find some fabric for me to wear." People raced to bring silk and fabric to make clothes for Giong, but Giong's body was growing at an astoundingly rapid pace. The clothes were too tight and too short as soon as they were finished, so they had to bring more fabric to patch and extend them. Before long, Giong's head was touching the roof of the house. While everyone was still in shock, the soldiers, panting and sweating, finally managed to haul the iron horse, sword, armor, and helmet to the house. Giong stepped outside, stretched his shoulders, and suddenly transformed into a towering giant with legs over 10 feet long. He roared with a voice like thunder, "I am a general of heaven." Having said that, Giong put on the iron armor and helmet, grabbed his sword, and swung it around a few times. He then bid farewell to his mother and the villagers, and leaped onto the horse's back. The iron horse reared up and breathed a massive stream of fiery red flames straight ahead. Giong spurred the horse, and it galloped like the wind, taking massive strides. In the blink of an eye, the horse charged right into the enemy camp scattered across several forests. Giong's sword flashed like lightning as he swung it. The invaders were slaughtered as fast as they charged out. The horse breathed fire, burning down rows of camps and taking entire forests down with them. However, the enemy general, the An King, still tried to scream and order his troops to charge. The more Giong fought, the stronger he got, leaving enemy corpses littered everywhere. Suddenly, his iron sword snapped. Without a moment of panic, Giong casually uprooted clumps of bamboo along the roadside and relentlessly thrashed the enemy troops who were trying to hold their ground under their general's orders. In no time, the enemy forces scattered and fled in all directions, and the An King was smashed to pieces. The surviving remnants of the enemy begged for mercy and surrendered. King Hung's army and the villagers only had to rush out and tie them up. In less than half a day, Giong had rid the country of the disaster. By then, Giong's horse had reached the foot of Sok Sun Mountain. There, Giong took off his armor, left his helmet behind, and both he and his horse flew straight up into the sky. After the victorious battle, to show gratitude to the hero, King Hung ordered the construction of a temple dedicated to Thanh Giong in his hometown, and bestowed upon him the title Phu Dong Thien Vuong, Heavenly King of Phu Dong. Today, we can still see traces of this legend, such as the chain of round ponds stretching from Kim An and Da Phuc all the way to Sok Sun, which people say are the footprints of Thanh Giong's horse. The forest that was burned down by the iron horse's fire is now called Long Chai, burned village. The green bamboos that Giong uprooted to beat the invaders were scorched by the fire, turning them yellow with scattered burn marks. This species of bamboo still exists today and is known as ivory bamboo tre đằng.